Good evening.
Good evening.
And welcome to the February meeting for the Open Space Greenways Committee. And we'd like to start the meeting with the pledge of allegiance to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, in your package tonight you have the agenda for tonight's meeting, and there's also a copy up there for you. So we'd like to start with attached is the minutes of the January meeting, which were emailed to you. Are there any additions or changes to the minutes as submitted? If not, could I have a motion to?
I motion.
Minutes stand approved.
I'm sorry, who made the motion? Darryl?
I'm glad we got in here before that is.
Test the walls to see if we got all the mold.
That's good.
Now, are there any revisions to any items that might be on the agenda? Any additions or deletions? If not, we'll proceed. The first item on the agenda is our liaison reports. Wally, as far as the township is concerned.
I'm rather pleased to see tonight's Trenton Trib, which we got first page in the second section for both Smokies and the Icinger, all-season rink. Those are the two things that I, as you know, have been working on pretty relentlessly. And I do want to spend just a moment with you at the end of the session today about the chili contest to see if any of you would like to buy a ticket or take some posters and help distribute and push this event, which is important to the Recreation Department. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Bert, anything from the Conservancy?
A reminder about the high school photo contest. It's called Take Outside, to get students outside to take pictures of nature. The deadline is in May, so we're encouraging all high school students to participate. And also this Saturday is a Birds of the Bay nature program at the Gibraltar Bay unit. About it?
Mm-hmm. Leah from the Recreation Department.
Yes, thank you. We're in the process of working on a update of the Grosville Parks and Recreation master plan. The last one we did was 20 to 2015. So this is not a whole rewrite, just an update. We're checking to see what we've accomplished. If we don't have to keep it on master plan, we'll just say it's gone, and new things. And so in doing that, we held 3 or 4 hearings last week and the week before. The first one was for organizations, and a number of them were there, particularly the sport ones, talking about kinds of things at the airport that we need. We're looking to build the group is looking to build a bathroom facility there, and they need some more soccer fields because in 2017, along with the Island Fest, they're going to have a big tournament. And so then there's baseball that's growing like mad too. So that was all part of the hearing, and it's currently in the hands of Brandy Boyd and our consultant to put this into a readable form. We on the board went over the goals, objectives, just to see if we had everything covered, particularly in terms of communication with the new technology, apps and stuff. And I want to thank Pat and Cliff for coming to the open forum before our meeting last Thursday. It's good that people had an opportunity to hear the relationship between what we do on community rec and how that works with the trails and open space and et cetera. The restaurant is, Wally mentioned, Smokies are in there booming and banging and redecorating, and their liquor license is on the road. They're about ready for that. So the target is to be open full-time in April, and we're looking, I don't know how many of you have eaten at Brownies in Wyandotte, but it's, or Smokies, I'm sorry, I'm saying Brownies, Smokies. That's a Bad X name is Brownies. And it's really good food. I think it'll be a welcome addition to the island. The building that burned last spring, that's all, the insurance things have been worked out for the most part, and we will begin construction, and we hope it's going to be ready to go. The equipment being replaced and et cetera, we've worked on that, so we're going to be fine there. And then finally, we're putting a metal roof on the restaurant at Water's Edge. We had a really good deal from a roofer for half price that it would ordinarily be. They had a bid, and when the metal came, it didn't work. And so they offered it to us. And we thought, roof needs to be replaced. A metal roof will last for years and years and years. So that's where that is. And if you haven't had a chance to meet and talk with Brandy Boyd, she's been here for over a year now. We love her. We think she's doing a great job. She's very knowledgeable, and she's also going to be teaching other recreation people at Eastern Michigan University. So we're proud of her for that. So other than that, if you have questions, I'll be glad to answer them. But that's kind of what's going on over there in Rec.
Thank you. Else?
Can't think of anything.
Okay. Mitch Lewis, our new liaison from the Grosse Ile school system, could not be with us tonight, so the report from the school system will be forthcoming, and if he has anything to say, maybe we can put it in the minutes. The beautification committee, the committee has asked Pam Prushy, who is a member of that committee, to be the liaison from the beautification committee to the open space. She was invited to come, and she's not here.
I think she's left on vacation today.
Has she? Okay.
Yeah, I know she did. She left
All right.
for the first part of a 3-week sojourn. So.
Cliff, does that mean that I should start sending Pam our minutes? Is she officially our liaison?
You can, yeah, because in other words, the beautification committee, Art used to be the representative of the beautification committee, so we'll be just send her a courtesy copy of our minutes.
And send them also to Mitch. He's accepted our request to join us?
As a liaison at this time, yeah. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is, of course, we have our 4 trails, and the Manchester Trail is complete and running. We received nothing but compliments about that trail. We did put up some directional signs on the trail, little arrows every maybe 50, 60 feet, making to show the direction of the trail. They seem to be working out very well. We have extra trail signs available for the other trails, such as the Wildlife Sanctuary, the Centennial Farm Trail, and also the Playscape. Pat, anything new on the Wildlife Sanctuary Trail?
Yes. I committed myself last month to come up with some information for the sign for the Wildlife Sanctuary upgrade. The reason I was late getting in here is I wanted to know if we could use the camera to put this up for you, but the camera is still broken.
The camera is still broken.
Yes. So I will speak to my information, and then I will include this in what I send out in the minutes.
Okay.
Initially, I was thinking of just putting in a bulletin board type sign. Looking at the wonderful upgrade that we did at the new trail in Manchester Woods, I have expanded my concept for the entryway but I'm being easy on you, Cliff. I'm identifying maybe phase 1, phase 2, but if you want to get really generous, you can just give it all. So, okay. Here's my pitch, guys. I would like on the horse mill entry to put 2 good-sized redbud trees. I planted some last spring. You notice I said good-sized. The ones I planted were too small, and really too small, and they just sort of disappeared. So I think this time I have to go bigger. I have not had the opportunity yet to find out if we can get them free. The last ones were free, or if we need to purchase some. But I noticed in your proposed budget you have some monies in there for trees, so I would be asking to be allowed to tap into that. The bulletin board sign that I would like to put up would resemble the sign that we have at the Manchester Woods one, on the Conservancy one, but I would like it to be like twice the size, and to have doors that open up that are waterproof, that can lock, because that is an educational trail. And I want to be able to post current things that are happening in the trails area. For example, trail projects that are identifying areas, trail towns. So information about trails. I intend to be working with some of the teachers to come up with quizzes that somebody taking the trail, it'll say, can you find the ginger plant? Have a picture of the ginger plant, see if they can go out and find it. So that's why I want to be able to put rotating information plus the standard information that we have about the history itself. Looking at, again, the Manchester Woods update and remembering what we talked about at Leah's open meeting. And we were saying that we would like to sort of tie what we're doing in with the bike trails. On the Manchester Woods, we put a bike rack. We had mentioned at the meeting that many people, because of the depth of the mulch we're putting in, etc., don't ride their bikes, which then made me think, well, okay, if they don't ride their bikes, what are they going to do with them if they're on the bike trail and they want to put their bike down and walk trail? So that's why I added that recommendation to it. And I also noticed that they have a bench at the entryway, and I think that that would be a good upgrade for that trail. The bike rack and the bench, I put a star next to it that they could be like phase 2 for next year if we wanted to do that. Also, parking is not really allowed on the horse mill area. And when we have volunteers come to do the mulch, etc., if we don't tell them to go to Morkland and park, they tend to park on thoroughfare, which I would feel very bad if a police officer would, I'm sure they would not ticket them, but they would stop and say, do you know, this is not a good idea. There's a no parking sign.
Where?
Just when you come over the bridge coming east to west. So I'm recommending that at the corner we put a sign that says trail parking and an arrow, and then when they get down to Morkland, put a sign trail parking to show them where they can park if they want to enter that. The other thing that I noticed is we do not have a waste receptacle on Horsemill. We have it on Morkland, but not on Horsemill. So that is the last recommendation on there. I have just some estimates. They're not solid, but I'll give you some ballpark estimates, and then we can consider it as we develop the maintenance plan.
Do you have estimates on all of the items?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
The only thing I don't have an estimate on are parking signs. But
I think it would be nice if we had In other words, the list that you have, together with an estimate of the cost.
Right.
So we get an idea of what the entire program is going to
Right.
cost, whether we should do it all at once, do it in phases, or maybe do some of it and not all of it. And that's
Right.
So I think that would be helpful if we had.
And I'll include these in the minutes. I had planned to be able to show it to you.
Oh,
but
okay. Yeah, just
being that it's not there.
Put them in the minutes and then.
The only problem I have with those parking signs is the corner of Horse Mill and Thoroughfare is so plastered with bike trail signs that it's unbelievable. I'm almost embarrassed to say put another sign up there. So I think I would like all of you to really consider that and think if that recommendation should be accepted or not. But I know some individuals that live on that corner are just vehement about all of the trail signs that are there.
Now, what corner is this now? I'm sorry.
Thoroughfare and Horse Mill. There's at least 7 signs there about the trail sign. The only kind of sign that's not there is one in Braille. I mean, there's every size, shape. You
Give
can
us a
think of.
minute.
Huh?
If you want one in Braille, give me a minute. I agree with what you're saying, and BPAC agrees with what you're saying, too. Signage has been troubling to them. They're
Neighbors
working
would be
on
very
bike path
grateful.
signage.
So anyway, that's something that I think would help volunteers as well as others who wanted to walk the trail to know where they can park to do that.
Just
So
before I get off of that, I don't want to interrupt your train of thought.
done.
But some of the trails and some of the sidewalks have different endings to them which are placed there for the disadvantaged, visually disadvantaged. And that has been a talk of some folks wanting to put that on the ends of our trails too. So besides signs on posts, we would have end of signs. We have to get together and figure out just what signs we need. I don't know how the Indians ever crossed this island without signs.
I think your comment and your point is an excellent one. That as far as signage is concerned, perhaps we can we meet with the bike. Is the bike path committee going to come up with a proposal?
They're working on some of that right now, Cliff. I'd love to see you guys get together in a joint session.
And I'm not sure who we would have to contact yet about parking signs. Is that the township, right?
Yes.
So there's quite a bit of coordination if we decide we want to do that.
Okay.
But this is my overall
Okay.
concept.
Now, make sure you put that in the minutes so that
Will do.
we have a complete list. And to your point, Wally, I think it's mandatory that we do sit down as a group between our two groups and come up with a more professional, concise signage for, parking or whatever.
The thing is that there are people that want to put signs up for everything. And there are other people that don't want any signs. And somewhere in the middle we have to meet. And
Okay.
we haven't met there yet. We have one sign on the bike path on Horse Mill that curves like this when the path goes like this. I have yet to find that one. I've been told it's there.
Well, let us know, and we'll be more than happy to participate in that effort.
We have a bike path meeting in 2 weeks, and I'll try to mention it to Brian to see if we can cut out some time in that meeting for joint session.
Excellent. Good. Okay.
Could I, when you have a moment, I forgot a couple of important dates.
Yes, please. Go
All
ahead.
right, now?
Go ahead.
Okay. I just want everyone to know that on the 24th at a regular community rec meeting, we will be reviewing the final draft and recommending to the township. And the township board will take action April, what will be the meeting in April? April 2nd. So if second Monday in April. And so if anybody has concerns or whatever, stop by the office and talk with Brandy about that. And then the other thing I forgot about was the St. Pat's dinner on March 16th, $10. You have to register beforehand at the rec office. And then there will be an Easter event on Saturday, March 19th, Easter hunt and all that kind of thing. And the ice rink, people are concerned because we have this new wonderful cement-based ice rink, and we haven't had weather long enough, cold enough to freeze the ice because the concrete, you know that, and the concrete, takes longer to freeze it, and so people have ice over here on their lawns, that's just it. It'll be worked out. New signage and lighting is being worked on there. So one of these years we'll have a winner, and then Wally is going to talk about another fundraiser relative to the ice rink after.
Okay.
About no ice on the ice rink. I keep hearing about how we're ice skating on this pond here and there, and Trenton's got people skating in their ponds. Now, come April, I want you guys to all strap on your inline rollerblades and go skate in Trenton, because my rink will be ready all year. It's not just for ice.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was supposed to be done this year, wasn't it?
It's done.
And the ones in Trenton are on ground, so it's easy enough to freeze it.
Yeah, that's the point. It is done. The only thing that is affecting it is it's not cold enough.
Yeah.
Once it's drained, you can have a lot of fun on rollerblades there, and most people that ice skate like rollerblades too.
Okay.
And we can do that 12 months out of the year, this year.
Okay, what about Centennial Farm?
Oh, we have beautiful trails there. They're partially lawn, but not now, but they're green, with all the rain we've had. Plenty of parking there on the east side. We do need mulch added over the bare spots inside the trail. But other than that, that's all I got to report.
I have nothing to report as far as the playscape is concerned. I haven't been there to look at it lately. I would assume that there's probably more mulch that's needed, but that's one of the areas that we have to take a look at. The next item is public comments, and are there any public comments?
Anything?
I'd like to make a couple of comments as far as from informational purposes is concerned. As far as the Open Space Committee is concerned, we have a number of activities or positions that are called liaisons, and I'd just like to explain what they are and who's on them and how they're structured. First of all, we have our township board member, Wally Posiask, who is a full-fledged board member of the Open Space Committee and who also acts as a liaison from the Bike Path Committee to our committee and also serves as a liaison from our committee to the Bike Path Committee. We have Bert Urbani, who is a full-fledged voting member of the Open Space Committee, who is also a liaison for the Grosse Ile Nature and Land Conservancy. And then we have just recently added a young student from the Grosse Ile school system called Mitch Lewis, who acts as a liaison from the Grosse Ile schools. Now, Mitch is not a board member. He is, at this point in time, he is a liaison from the school board to the Open Space Committee. And of course, we have Leah Shelke, who is the liaison. She's not a full-fledged board member from the Rec Committee to the Open Space Committee. The reason we have all these liaisons is to make sure that we provide a good, solid avenue of communication between other committees and organizations on the island that might interface with the open space program. So it's important that we maintain that much needed communication link. So that's enough of my talking about that, but I just wanted to set the record straight on that issue. And we also have, I don't know that I mentioned Pam Frushi, who has accepted the position from the Beautification Committee to act as a liaison to our Open Space Committee. Having said all that, we have a number of items that we're currently working on. Pat, I believe you talked about the entry sign and cost on the Wildlife Sanctuary Trail,
Yes,
did you
that
not?
was part of my report.
Okay. I do have a copy of, in the minutes, if you will, the member will look at their package, a first draft of the Open Space Trail Maintenance Program. If you have any changes or additions or deletions, let me know. If you think it's in a position where we can fully just adopt it, it's going to be an internal procedure. I don't think we need, Wally, I don't believe we need approval for the Township Board on this. This is just like a working set of instructions for maintaining our open space trails. Great. So, are there any comments on this on the trail, or do you want to take a look at it, and then at the next meeting we can make the changes and fully adopt it? Pardon?
We can do that.
Okay. Then we will hold this off, and
So next meeting we'll vote.
the next meeting we'll review it and approve it. And in the meantime, please look it over, and if there are any changes to it, things that I might have missed, let me know, and we'll change it. Bert has taken the responsibility of putting together a program for called the Friends Program for the Open Space Program. Bert is working on that program now, so Bert, if you can give us an update of where you stand and maybe the direction in which we need to go.
Well, I'm still fleshing out the proposal. It would be volunteers, primarily targeting residents who live near the open spaces, but certainly anyone on the island is welcome to be a part of that. The duties would cover, I call it natural areas protection, observing, monitoring, documenting, and reporting encroachments, dumping, vandalism, and natural hazards that threaten the sustainability of the natural areas and residents' quality of life and ability to enjoy those resources. Natural areas maintenance, assisting with trail development and maintenance, such as spreading wood chips, repairing trails, installing signage. Invasive species removal, removing invasive plants such as garlic, mustard, and honeysuckle. Events, assisting with dump the junk, find a treasure. Those events happen twice a year, over one weekend each in May and October. Assisting with the wood cutting program. So those are events that tax our small committee and would certainly be enhanced with the activities of volunteers. So just kind of fleshing that out and, conquering the challenges of getting the word out, just that such a program would exist, and managing it, administering it, recognizing the volunteers, and, those are the challenges that all the organizations face in terms of communicating, particularly with the loss of the Grosville camera. So these are hurdles that we have to overcome and see how that goes, but should have a more fleshed out program to present to you next month.
Thank you very much, Bert. Appreciate it. Recently, one of our committee members, Daryl Filarski, proposed a possible trail at the Albemarle open space area, which is located directly across from the wildlife. Now, what do we call that, Bert? I'm
Wildlife
sorry.
Sanctuary?
Gibraltar Bay Unit of the Detroit River International Wildlife Refuge.
That's the area that you steward. And there are some issues with regard to that area. And Daryl, could you give us an update of where we stand on it?
Well, I think we should review the whole thing with the board, and I'd like to put a trail in right around the perimeter of by the water of that property, I mean, we got a lot invested in that, and I'd like to see something, develop there as far as the trail goes. And there are some issues because it was a dump before, a dumping ground, but I think we can work around the area where we may propose the trail.
At the next month's meeting, could you have a sketch of showing maybe where that trail might go, and then we can put it on the board and talk about it. And then as a group,
could we go down there and look at it and decide on where to put the trail? And
You gonna have anybody look at it for pollution?
well, we want to go around the pollution. And
How are you gonna go around the pollution?
if we put the mulch in there, the pollution will filter through the mulch, and eventually it'll be good ground again. I don't know.
I don't think so.
We need, that's a real hot issue, and we need to be sure of what we're doing.
I know we do. That's why I'd like.
That's why
like
you need
all
to
of
look
us
into it.
there was an environmental study made
Right.
of that area back in 2002 by the township, and
We got the whole.
Daryl's got a copy of that.
So
And that's why we quite frankly have to look at this
We have to look at it real
very,
close.
very carefully before we decide if we should do it at all, So let's make sure that we have all our ducks in a row on this issue.
yeah, but it's a beautiful piece of property. I just see it sit there without.
Well, let's, if you don't, the old saying is, if you don't try, you don't do. So let's see where we stand, and if we decide as a group that it's something we'd like to do, but we can't do it, so be it.
We can't do it,
Okay,
But let's
Darryl,
try.
when we were at the recreation meeting last week, I guess you call him Ranger, the lady who works down at the the DNR, was stating that they are thinking of putting a trail, at the wildlife sanctuary directly across from it.
Right.
They're thinking of putting a trail in along the fence. And some of their issues were parking and
Right.
all that stuff. We may want to contact that lady and find out more of what they're doing and try and coordinate maybe what they're doing and what we think we want to do, so that maybe we could have parking at their place, because parking is going to be an issue and things of that nature.
But if,
So I think we need to look into what's
need to
going
look
on
into
there.
that. But if we use it as a dog walking trail, a lot of people walk their dogs up East River,
Well, down at the south end of the island, we really don't have anything like bike trails or
We don't have
walking
any of that.
trails. But we've got to be really smart about it this time.
Right. And, it'd be very scenic if it'd be the best piece that we own in open space if we can go through with it.
Okay. I'm on the board of the International Wildlife Refuge Alliance, which is the friends group of the refuge. And so just to let you know, there's a visitor services plan which is being approved by Fish and Wildlife Services headquarters. And so that unit, the Gibraltar Bay unit on East River, fairly soon will be open from dawn to dusk, 7 days a week. So, I mean, that should happen. I don't want to overstate it or jump the gun, but I mean, it should be happening at least by summer, if not spring. So when that's open, there is a parking lot there. People would be able to use an open space trail, and as well as the Gibraltar Bay unit. And if the rec department goes ahead and, if the bike path comes from Grow, south on East River to that area, that would be a tremendous boon to the community.
It would be.
It was the DNR that said they were going to put in a path, not the bike people.
That's correct.
Is it possible,
Both.
I'll make a
This
couple
would
of
add to
comments
it.
when you're done.
is it possible that we could use the trail in the nature area, the DNR nature area, for people to walk during the day?
Oh, yeah. I mean, once it's open, it's open.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So-
And that's federal. I mean, just to distinguish between Michigan Department of Natural Resources, which is
In my
state.
mind, it seems to be going on this thing, and I'm not jumping the gun. Maybe we can have it there instead of across the street, a
Well,
trail.
I think Daryl is right. You know, I mean, let's look at developing the open space properties where it's applicable and possible for residents to use.
Good.
It's a
Good
very,
point.
very expensive piece, you know.
Yeah, absolutely right. Okay. I'll just keep working on that, Daryl, and I'll help you with that as much as I possibly can. So that
Okay.
we can, it's going to be a very difficult thing, but it's got to be done. We have to do our missionary work or our pre-work very carefully, make sure everything is considered.
Just a couple of comments on that. Number one, for us to go out there as a group and trot around on a site where some people say is pollution in search of a trail, not best thing for us to do. I don't have a problem with the concept of putting a trail there, but I do know that there is a map that details where the former landfill site used to be. And I do know that there was details as to what was in that. And if you want to do something with this site, I think the right way to go about it was get a hold of that map, find out where the areas of concern were, and then see if your proposal walks around and skirts those areas.
We do have that map.
Yeah, we have it, and
Well, you know, we were just talking about we ought to all go out there and look where the trail should be. You don't have trail building money, number one. You've got trail maintenance money. So you're going to have to sell this thing as developing an existing trail, not building a new one. Remember
there is an existing trail there. We've
I understand that. You don't have any construction money.
we've walked it.
We need to have something on a piece of paper that shows this is where we don't want to be, this is where we should be, number one. Number two, you got wetlands issues there. Number three, you've got FAA issues with how close you can be to our airport. So it's not real simple.
That's why I said it's
Well,
got to be done very
so what I guess I'm
Gotta be
doing is
done right.
reinforcing what you said, Cliff. Don't think that this is going to be done by July and we're going to have a trail.
No.
No,
Not
it's
at all.
over a period of time.
Keep working on it.
Work on this.
But let's get a map and let's see where the problems are, and let's develop it that way. I don't want 7 or 8 people walking around out there. Lord knows one gets cut on a rusty nail, and then we have a bigger problem.
To the point is that it's got to be done properly.
Properly and over a period of time.
Over a period of time.
This can't be done overnight.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Next item on the agenda is there's 2 things that we have to give to the township this month. First of all, we have to give them our annual report. And secondly, we have to give them of course, what maintenance budget is going to be for the following, for the month. So let's cover each one separately. In your package, you have a draft of the annual report, which I have given you on the internet, and it's rather straightforward. It's the objective. It's organized in just a way that we have when we have the status of the objectives that we set last year, whether we achieved them or not achieved them, and then we have the list of other accomplishments that we made, and then we have proposed objectives for 26 and 2017, and I have to give this to Township Board this month, so I hope you've had time to look at them. Is there anything in here that you want me to change or delete? Pat?
I have a few additions. I apologize I didn't get these to you before the meeting. I think in the accomplishments for 2015-2016, we had a rather large program that entailed almost 45 volunteers. It was the initiating an ongoing Red Oak volunteer observation program and completing the volunteer Red Oak observation program to determine the health of the Red Oaks.
Right.
I'm rather pleased with the way that program went, and I think it's one of the first times that we have actively looked at the health of the trees on the open space. And at least to me, as a member of this committee, it was an awakening that, I look at the trees, but are they really healthy, and are they what we want them to be? So I would like those two items put on it. I'll give you this.
Okay.
And the other is under the objectives
For next year?
for next year.
Or for this year?
The upgrade the wildlife sanctuary horse mill entry and expand the wildlife sanctuary educational concept.
Okay. Just give those to me, and I will add them to the list. Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Anybody else have any changes as far as the annual report is concerned? Okay, if not, what I'll do is I'll make these two additions, the accomplishments for this year, and I'll add the two objectives for the following year, which will be the upgrade the wildlife sanctuary and horse mill entry and expand the wildlife sanctuary educational concept. I'll submit those to the township for approval and also make sure that each of you have copies of that report when I finish it up. Okay. Thank you. The next item is to approve the budget for the 2016-17 calendar year. And if you'll turn the page, and just by way of a reminder, that we have two millages in which we have funds available for the open space program, one of which is the approximately $500,000 for purchasing additional open space properties. I believe there's about $529,000 in that account. Its millage has been approved and assessed. It was allowed to expire last year, and we still have $529,000 sitting in that account, which is to be used for one thing and one thing only, and that is for acquiring additional open space. We also have a second millage that was allowed to expire about 8 years ago, which was to maintain the open space. At that time, when it expired, it had about $500,000 in the account, and over the last almost 10 years, it now stands at $300,000, and started this year at $358,000. So, although we haven't assessed any additional millage, we've been very prudent in maintaining the open spaces and spending only approximately maybe $30,000 to $40,000, $50,000 a year for maintaining the open spaces. So based on our historical data, we have about enough left in the account to last for maybe another 6 or 7 years, depending on what needs to be done. Before you, the format, I had the budget that was approved, that we approved for the 2015-16. I have the actual cost that we spent to date, a projection of what we intend to spend until the end of the fiscal year. The fiscal year starts in April of a given year and ends on the 31st day of March. So we established a budget of $51,600 last year, and we plan to spend about $41,600 of that. And then for the proposed budget for next year, we put in approximately $57,000. Now, there's a couple of items in there that just because it's in the budget does not mean that it's approved. Why don't you call it a placeholder? Now, there's provisions for purchasing additional equipment if it can be justified, and that's about $13,000, and that's in there strictly as called a placeholder, which would require approval from this board and approval by the township board to spend that money. So this is the last column is the proposed budget for next year. And are there any comments for any additions or deletions to that proposed spending?
On that trail for Albemarle, if it doesn't happen, the 16 goes back in, right?
Yeah, if we don't spend the $16,000 for Albemarle, then the amount that we'll spend will be instead of $57,000 will be about $41,000. And the same thing holds true for the purchase of additional equipment.
I think you got some big salesmanship ahead of you if you think the township board will approve either one.
What?
Those two
Purchase of equipment.
Yeah, right. What do we
or
buy?
Or provisions for a trail in Albemarle. You don't even have a concept on one. And number two, you don't have a place to store or operate equipment. We've talked about this before. My opinion is that.
Okay. Do you have any? I have no objections at all to removing those two items.
Yeah, I don't see why we never buy anything.
We rent them.
We rent it. We have T&T come in their machine and they do it.
So you want those two? Okay. What's the feeling of the? Do you consent that those two items should be removed at this time?
It's equipment purchase and which other one?
And the $16,000 for the Albemarle plan.
Yeah, because you got a lot of work to do for that. If you're going to do that,
that's out in the future.
Wait until you say, okay, we're going to do it, then we go and do it.
Okay.
Get out there.
And that's I have no problem.
You want to put it out there?
No.
I have no problem with removing those two items.
Well, I have a question.
My point is that putting it out there gives you a lot of people getting some scrutiny on you.
Okay.
Just, if we get to the point where such a thing is possible,
Yeah.
my point is that you have a finite fund.
Right.
It's like having a bank account. If you don't go out and buy a new Mustang this year, you got $30,000 left in your bank account for next year and the year after. Let's
put
not
it in there
worry
just-
about these what ifs.
Yeah. I put it in there knowing full well it might raise some issues, so that's why I'm not arguing the place of leaving it in. That doesn't mean we're going to spend it, and that doesn't mean we're not going to spend it. It all depends on what the conditions are at the time.
So you're going to take out the 16 and 13?
I'm taking out the 16 and 13.
Okay, so we drop 16, 13, 20, 29.
Now about $30-some thousand.
I would suggest you allocate a little bit more in other areas.
Okay, how much?
Well, I have a question.
Yes.
What?
Trail maintenance and upgrade. Won't we be spending some money for trail maintenance and upgrade for the other trails? So if we zero that out, then are we putting maintenance costs for other trails in the tree cutting removal and that kind of stuff?
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, wait a minute. Your point's well taken. Yes. Take that note out of there. Instead of making that $16,000, let's make that $10,000
For what?
for maintenance, trail maintenance and upgrade.
For the other trails.
Specifically removing Albemarle Meadows language.
He's removing the
And that's
comment.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My point is that that's something that we do. That's something not radically different than what we've done for years.
That's right. Okay.
And I don't have a problem with that. You've got a comment here, need to plant new trees in open spaces. I have sent both the bike path and to this commission several notes where the DNR and other organizations offer price matching or 20% from the township and 80% free for trees. $1,000 isn't going to get you the postage to mail get the trees. If you want to really plant trees, let's plan on going after one of these grants that supplies trees, and then use $5,000 as a match, and pick the spot where you want to plant trees and what type you want.
So what are you saying about the trees?
Change it to $5,000 just for the sake of an argument. Give us some money to work with.
So if you get a grant, you get 5.
Correct.
You match 5, they match 5.
Okay.
Or
So what
match-
I'm going to do is I'm going to
They give 20.
I'm going to make that $5,000. And as far as the trail maintenance is concerned, we'll make that $10,000 and take out that note.
What are you doing for $500 to eradicate an invasive species?
Well, we've never spent some money before for eradicating.
I know. That's what I'm asking. Why is it even there? Take it out?
Well, I have a question for Bert before we do anything on that. Bert, did the Nature Conservancy remove some invasive species on open space last year? I remember reading something about that.
Like Mighty's done several years ago, I know that.
Yeah.
Well, for the past few years, the Conservancy has led a garlic mustard removal effort, and to tell you the truth, I'm not sure if any of that included open space. It probably did.
Yeah, when they came to the garden club and gave their presentation, they included that, and I sat there and went, really? But I mean, if that's something that they're doing, are we duplicating efforts, or who exactly and how are we handling that invasive species concept? Because this year is the first year that we really addressed health of the trees. Mm-hmm. We're getting smarter. We now know that we have invasive species we have to look into. And we're looking at, okay, the forest, we have kept it in its natural state, which is what we've been directed to do. But in its natural state, there's a lot dying. I don't think we've really addressed at any time, well, are we going to actually manage forest? And by managing the forest, then you're talking about replacing trees and helping them grow. So I don't know if we really have a plan on managing the health and the replenishment of the forest.
Really don't.
You know, many communities have foresters on staff
Yes, I know.
that are experts in the field.
And we've been lucky this year to have the Michigan Forestry Association volunteer all of their support to help us on the red oak. I think we need to seriously look into our management approach beyond maintenance.
Just the simple fact that they bought that trailer across state to us, we should probably devote a little bit more money to this fund to pay for some of that, right? We had to scramble to figure out how to pay for it last year.
Yep, I know.
And that wasn't fun. I know you worked your heart out on it, but the point is that we ought to be able to afford something like that.
Okay.
I'd love to see him here again on August 20th.
Might I make a suggestion then? The line item has new tree and plantings. Let's change the wording of that to, what term did you use, Pat? Managing the health of the open spaces.
Of the open spaces.
And then,
yeah.
okay, managing the health of the open spaces.
Good.
And put in there $5,000 instead of the 500.
We cut wood behind the fire department. And I'm telling you, somebody's telling me this Phragmites is back there. We can't take it down to get to the trees. But these things grow till hell freezes over.
Yep.
And you can't take them down to get the people in to get the trees out. I've been told.
By who?
Huh?
By who?
Township officials? No, not officials, but
Who is it?
Bill, who's the head of who's the, John Klein says we can't take them down.
We'll talk to John.
Because I can't get in to get to the trees. I got all this stuff sitting here.
Let's you and I get together with John and see exactly what he's talking
Okay, but he's saying that Ag Fridays or what the hell you call them.
Phragmites?
Phragmites.
If they are Phragmites,
The ones that grow.
Yeah.
that's the exact species that you're trying to chase off of the island. And if that's the
One of them,
case,
yeah.
But if that happens to be the case, then that ought to be a easy argument to win. John's looking out for the township.
I know he is.
He's looking out for some security zone behind the police and fire department. I know that. And you know, we just need to talk to him.
We got a lot of wood back there. We can't get to it.
I understand it, and I don't think we've got enough money placed into this wood cutting and cleanup anyway.
I'd like to see horse.
What are your recommendations, Wally?
I'd take the tree cutting and removal and cleanup cost of $14,000, add $6,000 to make it $20,000,
Okay.
Got a dumpster program in May and October,
Yeah.
and you're pretty good on that. New trees and open spaces we just talked about.
Yeah, we're going to make that $5,000.
Eradicate
acceptable?
invasive species. There's another place where you can spend a couple $1,000s.
Yeah.
$500 is just lip service. You know, if we're going to do anything with the Phragmites, you're going to need some money for dumpsters.
Well, we haven't done anything. That's right.
Right.
So
So
how much should we put in?
I'd put a couple $1,000s at least.
Yeah. The refuge is involved with what they have, comprehensive weed management area, CWMA, which is tackling Phragmites in the refuge with various landowners, you know, the metro parks and things like that. So we could approach them and see if there's a way that we can become a part of that.
I'm a partner, sure.
I can make
Well,
some
we got some skin in the game over $500, so, you know, it's...
Right.
That's no money.
Yeah.
Okay, is there anything else? Now, the open space woodcutting programs that we have down there, Woody, is just simply provisions for the, you know, we want to put up a woodcutting sign.
Yeah, we got about 5, I'll call them families. They're out there cutting wood. Now, they haven't cut in the last while. One people that cut, they came in with 6 people, and they cleaned up a lot of the stuff on Horse Mill. Now, I'd like to see maybe spend a little money and clean up Horse Mill from Meridian to Thoroughfare on the south side. A lot of junk is in there, a lot of standing straight on a 45. It looks old. Maybe we can have Mr. T&T come in there with a brush cutter and just shred it.
Well, that's the line item that we have is tree cutting and removal and cleanup. That would be included in that.
Okay, because, you know, it would clean up the place and make it look more presentable.
Okay. So if we have, we spent to date, we spent about $11,000 next year with an aggressive program. As you're talking about, Wally, with your input, we put in $20,000.
Well, I'll get an estimate from T&T how much it would cost.
Yeah.
To put it in the machine.
What this includes, this tree cutting and removal includes the 2 things. First of all, the activities that you're talking about is that making the open spaces that are adjacent to the roads more presentable.
Right.
Yeah. And secondly, for cutting down any removal trees which may jeopardize life or limb or property.
I think
That
we got
type of
most of them out.
No, you got some of them down.
Well, yeah, but I mean, we got a lot of them.
My point is that you aren't going to make a dent even adding another 6.
Well, you know, just 6 this year.
The only other thing
6
that I
next
saw
year,
here was
we just keep going.
this Oakville informational program. It's not over.
No, it's ongoing. We have to keep it
And we
going.
have to, I think we need to pump in some more money for that for 2016 budget.
Well, I think what we agreed to there, instead of new tree and plantings, we're talking about maintaining the health of the open spaces. And I think we're going to put $5,000 in that account to cover the things that your folks are mentioning.
So that'll
there.
cover the oak wilt, because there's
Sure,
nothing there
absolutely.
for it. So you're going to take
It could be something else.
So you're going to take oak wilt out as a line item and merge it with something
Yeah.
else.
In other words, what I did here is I said this is what we said we're going to spend the money on, and the second column to the far right is what we actually spent. We actually spent $1,000 on that item.
Right. That was unplanned.
Yeah. Okay. So, just to summarize, make sure that we haven't.
Wait a
Excuse me.
second, Cliff. I just want to, before we bring T&T in and start brush hogging, I'd like to have a forester give us an opinion on how to, not an overwhelming from A to Z, which could be an expensive analysis of how to maintain the health, but
Right.
I just
All I'm
don't.
talking about along the bike path. I'm not talking about going in, just along the bike path on that one area. You take a look at it. It does look like crap.
The Michigan Forestry Association volunteered last year to help us come up with a true public forestry maintenance program. I told them that we would consider it, and when we were doing the plan for this coming year, to look into what we actually needed. And the reason I said that was I've been looking at different forestry management plans, and I don't think the standardized format is appropriate for us. I think we need to have one that actually meets the specific needs of our island because it's so unique. Last summer, I reviewed the forestry management plan that Hillsdale College has. And coming from the defense government industry, I swear to God, anything that tends to be too governmental is they get paid by the page, because you had page after page of cut and paste. We do not need a 100-page management plan. We do not need a 50. I would like and be very happy with a 10-page approach. And I know we have worked with those people, you, Bert, Cliff, all of you have met those people. They're devoted to forestry. They're very willing to help us. I think we need to contact them again and start working on this.
That would fall in this category, Pat.
Pardon?
That would fall in this category about
Right, okay, just make sure we've got something in there, because we may have to start at least paying for their travel.
Okay.
If I may, the removal of trash and debris, do we plan on having a trash can at the entry of the 4 parks, the 4 trails? Because I'm adding one to mine. We don't have one at Manchester. Cliff, do we have one at Centennial? And I don't think we have one at Playscape, but I think it's a good idea.
Okay, we'll get 3 or 4 trash cans.
So you may want to bump that up.
Yeah.
I'm asking, I don't know.
There's been trash cans.
There is. I know a Playscape, but there isn't one at Centennial Farm.
No, there's none there.
Okay. Yeah. See, the thing I don't want to get too restrictive on this budget.
Right.
Restrictive in that, in other words, we have this certain thing we want to do. Let's make these line items broad enough so that it can cover.
Right, so when we start saying like, oh, well, that's too specific, we want to.
That's right.
Move
That's
a
why
lot
I
of
didn't
this
put
stuff
anything in
into
for
a
next
broader.
year.
Yeah.
That's what we spent $1,000 on that particular program.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, anything else? Bert? Okay, let me just summarize then what we're going to do. Removal of trash and debris, we stuck $1,000 in there. Tree cutting and removal, we're going to bump that up to 20. Allocated maintenance cost, we'll leave that at 500. Dumpster programs, about 6,500. That's historical. New tree and planting is going to be replaced by a program to maintain the health of the open spaces. We're going to put $5,000 in there. Eradication of invasive species, $2,000. We'll leave the wood cutting programs at $100. That's strictly for the signs. Update the maintenance, the open space maintenance guide. That's the once every 5 years. We have nothing in there for next year. New trail signs, wherever they may be, that's $3,000. Provisions for replacing existing signs, $500. Payrolls, cross charges, and so forth, $500. Miscellaneous reimbursement of materials, that's maybe monies that you may spend for some items that you may need to maintain your open space, or something that you buy, $600. And of course the oil program was just put in there to indicate what we actually spent to date. So that's what we'll have, and I think we'll probably come up with, it looks like, pretty close to maybe $60,000 for next year. And if something happens whereby we spend more on one line item than we did, or less on on another line item, I'm not too concerned about that. I'm concerned about maintaining the integrity of the bottom line in terms of the total amount that we're going to spend to maintain open spaces. So I'll make these changes that we've outlined here, and then I'll send you a copy. And I'll send that to Ann and let me emphasize that if something comes up that's not in this budget line item, we take a look at it, and if it makes sense, we spend the money. If it doesn't make sense, we won't spend the money. Wally, correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as township approval, if it's under $5,000, we have the authority to spend the money. If it's over $5,000, regardless of whether it's in the budget or not in the budget, we have to go out for competitive bids, and the township board has to approve it. Is that correct? $5,000.
$2,500,
Is it $2,500?
I think.
Okay. Well,
That's basically-
yeah.
By the way,
We're not gonna go out.
We don't do that.
So does the town.
Yeah.
If you have, and it's not.
Township,
Is that the
we don't
budget
do
you come
that.
to the township board?
Now, the thing of it is, the thing to keep in mind, and I'm not saying that, we do have in the maintenance fund, but we'll have a projected balance at the end of, as of March of 2016, of about $319,000 to $320,000 left in the maintenance fund.
319 after all this shoveling back and forth?
We project in March of this year, okay, when this fiscal year is over, to have about $319,000 left in the maintenance fund.
Okay, so after this year, it's going to be less, right? Because we're going to spend up to 60.
right.
Yes, up to 60.
I don't think we're going to get to the 60, but
I don't think so either, but you never know, you know. Something may happen which would necessitate, we may have a hellacious or horrendous invasive program that we have to address. Something else might happen, you know. So, but you never know. But we have enough, I think we'll have enough to cover. I'll make
Cliff,
these changes then.
I want to thank you for the time and effort you put into both these reports. We all really appreciate
Well, it doesn't
doing
take that much time. It's just
No, but it's the fact that you take the time. That lets us do some of this other stuff. And
what I
we
tried to do is
appreciate
say this is what we're going to spend this year and what we plan to do next year.
So I have a question. Supposing we get, you know, a humongous ice storm and knocks trees down in open space willy-nilly that become hazards. Is that our committee's responsibility to take care of those, or is that the township's?
If it's
Separate.
on open space, it would be our responsibility to take it down. Just like the hellacious program we had with the Emerald Ash Borer. We were responsible for removing the dead trees that were endangering private property or next to the bike path. We had to take those down. And we were spending $25,000 a year to do that in a couple of years. To answer your question, yes, we would be responsible for that. Any other questions, comments? Okay, what I'll do is I'll make these changes and I'll send you copies, and then I'll send a copy to I believe I sent it directly to Ann Darnack, who is our chief financial officer. And then the annual report, I'll make those changes, and those goes directly to Sharon Gray, and she collects those, and they'll be part of the open space plan for next year. Okay, is there anything else before I move to the next item?
the next item.
Next item is to reappoint the chair for the Open Space Committee
You're appointed.
for next year. I'm going to leave the meeting. You guys can talk about me.
I'm talking about you right now.
Well, I know you do, Woody, but you should. But I'll leave, and then come back when you've made a decision.
No,
We already made a decision.
you're not leaving. There's no reason for you to leave. Someone needs to
Okay,
appoint a
that's
chairman.
I'll appoint the chairman.
Someone needs to make a motion to appoint a chairman.
Okay, I appoint Cliff St. Pierre to be chairman.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
No?
All in favor?
Aye.
Yep, wasn't that fun, Cliff?
Okay, thank
Now
you.
you want to leave now?
Then I heard,
Motion to adjourn.
Oh, wait a minute, we got some other stuff.
okay, is there anything, let me just go, anybody
No,
want to make any
I'm good.
additional comments?
On anything?
No.
On anything?
Yes, anything
Okay.
pertaining to the open space program.
Sure. On Dump the Junk, well, it's scheduled for April 16th, but Bert made a comment about it was in May. Now, you want to go to May, we go to May. I just want to know the date so we can go at it.
Bert, I think you're right. It should go to May.
Fine with
Weather's
me.
better, and, you know.
I think I said May because I thought I had May in my head. And
Okay.
I thought it was written up somewhere, but,
I don't know,
I think May
Well,
would
what
work
do the
better.
minutes say?
well, just, as kind of an FYI, so the Kiwanis Island cleanup is April 9th, I think. The Friends of the Detroit River shoreline cleanups is April 23rd. So,
Okay, well, we can go to May 1st, and I just don't want to bump into summertime. I mean, we always try to move it around somebody else's, what they got. Forget it. Let's just do ours, and if people want to come bring their stuff, bring it.
Are we moving it to May?
I guess so.
no, I am not married to
Perfect.
May.
Would April be a little more risky as far as weather is concerned compared to
might be.
May?
Probably.
But this year, it might not be.
Right.
Well, let's put it this way, there's only one person knows for sure, Woody,
Who's that?
and he's up there.
Oh, you don't know.
So, yeah, you want to move it to May? We'll move it to the second weekend in May?
No, let's go first.
First, okay.
First weekend?
Okay, first weekend May.
Second weekend
Yeah,
in
we'll
May
do
is
the- if
probably
if
Mother's
that- If
Day.
it rains, pour,
Wait a minute,
whatever.
she's checking to see if it's Mother's Day.
I mean, I'm thinking the second weekend is Mother's Day, usually.
Okay.
Okay, we'll make it the
Yeah,
first weekend in May.
Good idea,
You
Bert.
think they're...
You get some junk for your
Put their
mother.
mother in the beer?
Okay, anything else that we want, do you have anything
Okay,
else?
first week in April. Okay.
May.
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 All right.
May. First week in May.
Grozio made the news. Rare plants discovered in metropolitan Detroit. Botanist Brad Slaughter and Mike Penscar with the Michigan Natural Features Inventory investigated the forest at Oakwood's Metro Park in Grozio, and he discovered that we have a rare species, the sedge species, on our forest here. I had no idea what it was, but this is what it is, folks.
What is, folks? Is that the arborvitae?
No, it's the sedge species.
Where did he find it?
Well, he says or in the woods here, and we also have this sumac oak that is also, he states, the dominant tree in the Grozio forest. And
Sumac?
so I thought it was interesting to find out that people have been looking at our forest and telling us what we have.
Good.
Might be a good idea.
Sumac?
Shoemark.
Okay, that's better, because sumac is just like poison ivy.
I know, but this is an oak.
Okay.
And by the way, this made me chuckle because if you recall last year when we were looking at all of the oak trees, someone called and said the red oak tree in front of the police station is dying. Well, I took a picture and sent it to our forestry people, and they said, no, that's not it. Well, it just happened to have been a Shoemark oak. So,
It wasn't dying.
and it wasn't dying. So anyway, there are people out there looking at our forest, and I think it'd be fun to know a little bit more about what we have.
Good. Bert, do you have anything? And nothing?
Nothing.
Ollie?
I have two things. I pulled up the commission purchases policy in our township ordinance. It says $0 to $2,500, the commission shall have the right to make such purchases and to obtain such work to be done as is necessary for the proper operation, maintenance, repair, and to obtain necessary improvements for the department's facilities and areas placed under their supervision, where the amount contemplated to be spent is $2,500 or less. The commission may expend such funds without the necessity of soliciting competitive bids. The commission, if it desires, may delegate this responsibility to the department head or retain that responsibility within the commission itself. So up to $2,500, you don't need to do anything other than agree as the board. $2,500 to $5,000, written competitive bids shall be obtained. Commission, where the purchase or contract is contemplated to exceed $5,000, formal bid shall be solicited. In this case, an advertisement should be placed in the township official newspaper soliciting formal sealed bids. So you got $0 to $2,500, no formal action. $2,500 to $5,000, it has to be competitively bid, but you can seek it without placing it out for formal bid in a newspaper. If the price exceeds $5,000, formal bids are necessary. Okay? The other thing I wanted to mention again is the chili contest. I know it's not within the purview of the Greenways and Open Space Committee, but it is certainly within the purview of the residents of Grosse Ile Township. And we are all residents, and I'm asking your help with this. People on a commission, the Recreation Commission, bound themselves to paying back $38,000. They need help. I said 38, and that's what we're going to pay back. Okay? No, 38. That's what we started. That's what we agreed to do. It doesn't have to come past you, Woody. It's $38,000. You can squawk all you want.
I will.
But 38 is where I'm at.
Okay. All right.
Okay. The details of the contest is it's an evening where you can eat all the chili and hot dogs you want, and we'll have beverages there for sale. They're for donation. And there are certain beverages that you have to be of a certain age to make a donation. So figure that one out yourself.
You pass them all.
The advance sale tickets are $10 for adults, $5 for kids 5 to 15. If kids are under 5, they're free. Anybody that comes to the event, the night of the event, pays $15 at the door.
And when is it again? I'm sorry.
It starts at 6 o'clock on Saturday night, February 20th, 2016, at the Grosse Ile Recreation Department. There is a chili contest. I have already 2 entrants. One of those entrants, I believe, is a place called Smokies on the River, claims that they make the best chicken chili in the world, white chicken chili, and I already told them that my son, who won 3 of these contests on Grosse Ile, no longer lives here, so he's safe. He can come out and sell his chili as the best there is. We hope he does. But anybody who wants to make a crock pot full of chili can bring it in. If you want to win a trophy, first, second, or third place.
Don't have to pre-enter, pre-register?
I'm getting there.
Oh.
I'm getting there. If you want to pre-enter for the chili contest, you have to send me an email, trustywally@gmail.com. I have to do this by the 17th, so I know how many extension cords I need. Every bit of profit generated from this, we're going to have a 50-50 drawing. We're going to have some little door prizes. You might want an umbrella or a portable radio or something. But everything that we make in surplus goes to pay back that $38,000. We're going to bite this elephant up one piece at a time. There are other events coming. This is the first one. This will be followed by a golf outing in June, and that is promising to be a very special outing, based upon the celebrities that are being told that we're going to have there. There's going to be, if you listened to last week's township board meeting, Sacred Heart is a fish fry every Friday night, and it's been phenomenal for them. The Grosville Knights of Columbus and Sacred Heart have teamed up. They spent $12,000 ramping up their kitchen this year just to be able to handle the demand. But it's a week from Wednesday that Ash Wednesday comes, and for us that believe in this thing, it's fried fish fries. I understand this is a wonderful fish fry, but fish fry, Friday, fish fry, Friday, fish fry, Friday, fish fry. All of a sudden, Easter shows up. And the next Friday, we're going to have a steak roast. Steak, baked potatoes, and corn on the cob. And that's going to be $15 a head. And we'll take care of your kids with a reduced price and a reduced meal. But we've got a lot planned for this rink. And there's a lot of spirit coming out of this again. I would hope that each of you could come, buy a ticket or two. I have some flyers here if you want to take them and post them in places. I will start putting them out by email and to select friends. Let's get a couple hundred people there. And that's very, very nice to do. That's all I'd like to say. Anybody wants a flyer, come see me. Or tickets.
Anything? Anybody else? Motion?
Adjourn.
Third.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned. Thank you for coming.
Been a thrill.